someone's asking us a Kickstarter question.
Let's do it.
Which is interesting. They're asking if is $3 for digital and $5 for physical okay for a 28-page paranormal investigation comic? I would say
it seems pretty low.
Yeah, I was going to say like 10 might be better for the physical and 5 for the digital. That's what I would do.
Based on my research, what I was looking, because I'm a research guy as far as like, it's my first Kickstarter. I was like, I'm going to go look at what a bunch of other Kickstarters do. And the odd comic book at 28 pages, that's including cover as well, ran anywhere from $10 to $15 per issue. And that's why I put mine at $12.50. That's $12.50 Canadian, so that's like $8.50 to you guys.
Yeah. So, and plus you get the shipping, right? So
yeah, well, and I kept the shipping fairly low compared to some other channels I've seen. So across the states, our shipping's $12 Canadian.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
so $20 and you get you get the book and the shipping.
I always subscribe to, and I think I've only done one campaign, but I fully subscribe to the idea that you offer free shipping and you just bake it into the cost. You know what I mean? Because that way it gives you a little bit more to inflate the price. You could, play with it a little bit more. You don't have to do it for digital. So that's another thing too, where you can like appropriately price digital. You offer free shipping. The physical's a little bit more. You might drive more people to the digital release. And in turn, that's easy for fulfillment. So those digital ones, you want to sell that just as much. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And in digitals, for my research, it was like 5 to 7.
Yes.
So, that's what I look at. So I'd say Matthew's going a little low. I did see some, I can't remember what run it was. It was an awesome book and it was very thick, beautiful art, $6. But that was one of those cases where it was, I'm pretty sure it was somebody who was tight with some factory in China that was putting this out, because it was phenomenal. Because like there's a lot of things you can do in China that really low cost, and the amount of artwork and the quality of this book did not make sense for $6. You couldn't produce it here for $6.
Right. And how many pages was it? Do you remember?
It was like 72 pages. It was like this
big, crazy,
huge thing. And I remember I asked a buddy of mine, who's run a few Kickstarters. Like he's had successful Kickstarters, and he does well, like a lot better than I do. His run from like 40 to 80 grand that he makes. So, but he's got he's got a following because he's an artist. He's a great artist. He's got a following on Instagram. But I told him about this book. He's like, don't buy that. He's like that's just not possible. He's like, don't buy it, as in like, don't believe it. It's just not possible.
That's wild. Like, unless you're making, I mean, who knows what the guy's intent was? Maybe he just wanted to get it in people's hands.
I honestly think it was probably somebody who is in China and has access to these things, like, the studios that do their art, great art, really cheap, factories super cheap. And because like I actually have a friend who owns a factory in China, he owns a factory in China, like he's from there, and his factory is the second biggest factory that produces board games in China. Oh, wow. So, and their costs are ridiculously cheap.
Oh, I can
like
imagine,
it's a book here that would be like $2 to $3. For them, it's like 60 to 90 cents for us to cost difference there.
Yeah, I printed my first graphic novel over there, and it was something ridiculously. It was like low. It was like for 150 pages. I think it was like about $2 or something a book. And this was back in 2012.
This is why everything's produced in China.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you can't beat their prices anywhere,
One testament I could make to ordering product, right, direct from China versus through a U.S. provider, regardless as to where the stuff's actually made. We're talking about how you order it, quality control, right? Ordered mugs through the mail, did a direct thing through Alibaba in China, got full shipment of mugs. And you have to buy in bulk when you go through Alibaba. That's the downside to that. Full shipment of mugs, like maybe an eighth of them ships wrong mugs entirely. Like it was like supposed to be for Surrounded by Death, and it turned out to be like, happy anniversary mugs. You know what I mean? So like there's quality control issues.
Ones mixed in with your Surrounded by
Death.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. So it was like you don't, and then when I went through a company that was like a US company that did, quality control and whatnot. And, I got the shipment of mugs, and sure enough, everything's great. Everything worked out good, printed nice, looks good, no chips on the mugs. And actually, coincidentally, the mugs that between the two, and I've had them obviously the older ones longer, but going through the dishwasher, these newer ones have held up, whereas the older ones, those images are fading. They're gone. You know what I mean? So Johnny, there's a certain level of quality control there when you're going through a factory and being there versus like say ordering from a different source. What were you gonna say, Harry?
So do you think the anniversary people got your Surrounded by Death mugs?
I hope so. I really hope so.
What the hell? But that's a cool idea though. I like the paranormal investigation comic. I like the way that sounds. Up my alley.
Yeah. Be curious to find out more,
Matthew, and cool. Hopefully our feedback will help you figure it out for Kickstarter.
Come on the show.
The worst moments in sports history.
The only old-time baseball player I met was Johnny Pesky, Fenway Park, the Pesky's pole, whatever. Like before that, I was telling her, if I could meet anyone, because Ted Williams just passed away, I would love to meet, Johnny Pesky, because he was his wingman in World War II. They left baseball for a short time to go fight in the war, and then I see this guy walk by. I was kind of like looking at the menu, and I see this leather jacket walk by me with the old Red Sox logo, like two separate socks. Now they weren't together. And I'm like, oh, what a cool jacket. And I looked up to go ask him where he got it from. And it was Johnny Pesky walking by me. I'm like, holy shit, Johnny Pesky.
He's like, I got this at work.
the guy at the time was probably in his 90s, and I'm like, I'm like, should I go say hi to him? I was like, please don't embarrass me. Like my girlfriend's like, don't. And I'm like, oh, I got to. It was like the one I told you that one time. I would love to meet him, So I ran up to him like, Johnny Pesky, and I yelled it so loud. She was like off balance, and I'm like, oh my god! He's like walking with a cane, and I put my hand behind his back. I'm like, oh my god! Yes. I didn't mean to scare
Amateur
you.
hour with the
fandom. I just wanted to say hi to you. Big fan of yours, whatever. But then he died a few, not too long after that. And I went to his
killed
wedding.
him.
I went to you know how many times
how many
times I've heard that story with other celebrities I've met. I can give you a long string of But when I went to the wake, the week after, and his son was like, "Oh, thank you for coming." I'm like, I'm sure he'll be happy that I just almost killed him like a week ago. And then I went outside, and they're interviewing me. She was with me, and so this guy shoved a microphone in my face. Like, so what did Johnny Pesky mean to you? I'm like, oh, I just kind of met. I always been a big fan, and I actually met him like a week ago, and he was so a great guy, back when he was more alive. I couldn't think of what to say, and I said that line. like, Harry, why would you say that? I don't know. I wasn't thinking.
This has been the worst moment in sports history.